Okay, we're back, and our next game is going to be a side-scrolling shooter. Now, that might seem like a bit of a leap from our Brick Breaker Pong games, but if you think about it, it's not really. In our last game, we created a paddle that became a laser paddle, and that paddle could move back and forth and shoot lasers that would destroy other objects, and we could get power-ups. Using those basic principles, we can then turn that into a scrolling game. Now, there are two basic types of scrolling games. You've got the sort of bullet hell, which is just waves of enemies and bullets flying everywhere. And then you've got sort of the stage-based stuff, kind of like in Gradius, or R-Type, where you sort of fly through space and then you get through the factories and enemy bases and you end up in a room with the final boss. We're going to cover both, but for right now I'm going to start with the simplest one, which is just sort of a waves of enemy bullet hell type thing, but we will go into how to make a boss at the end of the stage. But before we get started with any of the exciting stuff, we should make a room that actually has a scrolling background, so it is in fact a scroller. So over here in the assets, I have two background images. I've got BG Clouds, which is this nice space image with some space clouds and a little bit of stars everywhere. It's 640 by 480, which will be the size of our room. And if you notice over here in the texture settings, I have unchecked the tile vertical and I only have tile horizontal. And that is because the tiling will allow this image to repeat infinitely. And as we scroll it across, it'll just sort of wrap around, giving the impression that we are flying through infinite space. And then I've got this other background, BG Stars. And you can't really see anything because it's just a bunch of white dots on a very transparent background. But it's also 640 or by 480 and has the tile horizontal on. And then we've got a room, and I've just labeled this room 1. It is 640 by 480 and the speed is 30. So let's put in the backgrounds, go to the background tab, and we can turn off this draw background color because we don't need this gray color. We will be putting in our own. Now down here in the background box we have up to 8 different backgrounds we can have. We'll be using the first 2. So with background 0 selected, this will be the furthest background away. We want to check visible when room starts, and we want to set that background to our background clouds. Okay, and you can see over here it's all nice and pretty, and we want to turn tile vertical off because we don't need it to do that. We want it to tile horizontally, however. And if we scroll all the way down, we see horizontal speed and vertical speed. This is what we will use to move the background across the screen. And because we have it tiling, it'll just sort of wrap around infinitely. We want to give it a speed of -1. Remember, a negative on the horizontal will go to the left. So that's good for that. Now let's put the second background on top of it. We're going to have it move at a different speed, so we'll get sort of a parallax effect. So with background 1 selected, check visible when room starts, scroll down, and we will select that background stars. And you can see over here that we've got some more stars in the field. I'll turn off tile vertically, keeping tile horizontally, and I will set the horizontal speed to -2. To get the parallax effect, the backgrounds that are further away will move slower than the ones closer. So because the background stars will be on top of the background clouds, we need it to move faster to get this effect. But this is all we need to do, so let's check this and run it. And here we go, flying through space. Now you can add, well, up to 8 different backgrounds, so you can have multiple layers of things flying around in space, but this looks pretty good. So now we're actually ready to begin putting in our sprites and our objects and moving a ship through that space.